I wasn't supposed to look. I knew it the second my eyes betrayed me. Eleanor was standing by the glass wall of her office. Her red silk blouse half unbuttoned after a grueling meeting, fixing the chain of a locket that had slipped down. My hand froze on the stack of reports I was supposed to deliver. And then her gaze caught mine. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. She leaned closer, lips barely moving, her words cutting through the silence sharper than any shout. "Don't you dare peek." It wasn't anger in her tone. It was something worse. It was command. It was a warning laced with danger. The kind that sent a chill straight down my spine and left me pinned where I stood. I swallowed heat rising in my neck. My throat was dry, but somehow I found the courage or maybe the stupidity to reply. "I try, but you're too beautiful." For the briefest second, her expression faltered. Eleanor, the woman who terrified boardrooms and crushed competitors with a glance, looked almost startled, and then just as quickly her mask returned. Her lips curved into the faintest shadow of a smirk, like she was silently daring me to repeat myself. The air between us thickened, heavy, forbidden. She adjusted her blouse slowly, deliberately, as though testing whether I would keep my promise not to look. Every movement was torture. My eyes burned from the effort of forcing them anywhere but her. Yet every instinct screamed to steal another glance. "Bring me the file," she finally said, her voice steady, but her eyes never leaving mine. I crossed the room, each step louder in my ears than it had any right to be. When I reached her desk, she didn't take the folder immediately. Instead, her fingers brushed mine in accident. Maybe or maybe not. My chest tightened. She leaned forward so close I could smell the faint trace of her perfume. Something warm and impossible to forget. "Careful, Lucas," she whispered so soft it was almost a secret. "There are rules in this office." I wanted to answer, but my mind was blank. Rules? Yes, there were rules. But in that moment, all I knew was the way her eyes lingered one heartbeat too long. The way her lips parted like she was about to say something she couldn't. And then nothing. She straightened all business again like the previous seconds had been a dream. "You may go," she said. Just that. Dismissed. I left the office, the folder still in her hands, my pulse hammering as though I had run a marathon. But here's the thing. I didn't feel relieved. I felt marked, branded by the sound of her whisper, by the impossible beauty I had just risked everything to acknowledge. And I knew without a doubt that this wasn't the end of it. The office at night feels like another world. Empty corridors echo with every footstep. Fluorescent lights hum overhead, and the city outside glows in fractured neon against the glass. I should have gone home hours ago, but a deadline kept me chained to my desk. Or maybe deep down, I wanted to know what it would feel like to be here when she was the only other soul left. I heard the soft click of her heels before I saw her. Eleanor appeared at the end of the hallway, her hair loose now, cascading over her shoulders. No glasses, no mask of corporate armor, just her. She stopped when she noticed me still bent over spreadsheets. "You're still here?" she asked, her voice low, almost amused. I managed a nervous laugh. Couldn't finish in time. Her eyes narrowed, not unkindly, but with a glimmer of something else. "Or maybe you just like watching me work after hours." My stomach tightened. She said it casually, but the weight of those words was unbearable. My pulse stumbled, searching for an answer. She cut me off with a raised hand, crossing the room until she stood behind my chair. I felt the warmth of her presence before I dared to look. Then her fingers brushed the back of my chair and she leaned closer. So close her breath ghosted against my ear. "Careful," she whispered. "People might think you're watching me." Her perfume, spiced vanilla, and something sharper wrapped around me. I forced myself to keep my hands steady on the keyboard, but my chest felt like it might explode. "Coffee?" she asked suddenly, straightening before I could reply. She moved toward the break room, not even waiting for my answer. My legs carried me after her, powerless. Inside, the lights were dimmer, softer, almost intimate. She poured coffee into 2 mugs, then slid one toward me. Our fingers brushed again, deliberate this time. I looked up, and she was already watching me, unblinking. Neither of us spoke for a long moment. The silence was electric, louder than words. Her gaze locked mine, daring me to say what was boiling on my tongue. My heart pounded so hard I thought she must hear it. Finally, I broke. "You know I can't stop noticing you." Her lips parted just slightly. She didn't smile, but she didn't move away either. The weight of her stare pinned me in place, and for a moment, it felt inevitable. Her lips an inch from mine, her hand tightening on the mug, her breath steady and deliberate. The air was fire. If I leaned forward even a fraction, if she let me, everything would change. But then her phone rang, slicing the moment in half. She exhaled sharply, pulling away to glance at the screen. "I have to take this," she said, voice suddenly cool, so sharp again. I nodded, though I barely heard. My body was still burning from the almost that had just slipped through my fingers as she walked out with the phone pressed to her ear. She paused at the doorway, turning her head just enough to catch my eyes again. "Don't stay too late, Lucas," she murmured. And then she was gone, leaving the silence heavier than before. I stared at the untouched coffee in my hand, my reflection rippling in the surface, and I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just her assistant anymore. I was caught. Morning should have been routine. Coffee, reports, the blur of another long day. But the universe had other plans. I stepped into the elevator, juggling a folder of contracts. When the doors slid open again, and Eleanor walked in, my CEO, my secret obsession, my undoing. She didn't speak at first. She stood beside me, her perfume faint but lethal, her presence commanding the small space. Then the elevator jolted, lights flickered, and with a groan of machinery, it stopped. We were trapped, just the two of us. I tried to laugh, but my voice cracked. "Well, guess it's you and me." Her eyes cut to mine, sharp as ever, but something else shimmered underneath. Something almost playful. "Nervous already?" I shook my head too quickly. "No, just close quarters." Her lips curved, the faintest hint of amusement. "Close quarters bother you?" She took one step closer. The air shrank, our shoulders brushed, and my breath hitched. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to keep still, but the warmth of her arm against mine was unbearable. "I'm nervous," I admitted, words spilling before I could stop them. "Because you're too close." For a moment, silence. And then she tilted her head, eyes searching mine, unreadable. "Too close," she repeated, almost tasting the words. The tension was suffocating. The hum of the stalled elevator, the faint buzz of the fluorescent light, the heat of her body inches from mine. It all pressed in a cage of temptation. Her gaze dropped to my lips so briefly I almost thought I imagined it. But I didn't. She leaned just enough that I could feel her breath against my cheek. Every instinct screamed to close the gap, to cross the invisible line that had been tormenting me since the day I first looked too long. My hand twitched at my side. If I moved it an inch, our fingers would touch. If I leaned forward a fraction, our lips would meet. And then, ding. The lights flared, the machinery groaned, and the elevator lurched back to life. She stepped back instantly, her expression rearranged into icy neutrality, as if nothing had happened. The distance between us was restored, but the fire in my chest refused to die. When the doors finally opened, two coworkers were waiting outside. Their eyes darted between us, me flushed, her calm but unreadable, and I knew exactly what they were thinking. Eleanor walked out first, heels clicking sharply, giving nothing away. I followed, pretending I didn't notice the whispers behind us. But inside, my world was spinning because I had seen it. That flicker in her eyes, that unspoken almost. And I knew sooner or later the elevator doors wouldn't open in time. I never belonged in places like this. Chandeliers glittered above, champagne flutes clinked, and the crowd was a sea of tuxedos and gowns worth more than my yearly salary. But I was there because Eleanor wanted me there. Her, my CEO, my secret, my torment. When she appeared at the top of the grand staircase, conversation stopped. The red dress she wore wasn't just fabric. It was fire. It shimmered against her skin, dangerous and magnetic. And when her eyes swept the room, they stopped on me. I forgot how to breathe. "Stay close," she whispered once I reached her side, her voice low enough that only I could hear. "Don't drift. Not tonight." Her hand brushed mine as we walked into the ballroom, hidden beneath the drape of her gown. To anyone else, we were CEO and assistant. But to me, that touch was possession. It was warning. It was promise. The evening blurred. Introductions, laughter, speeches. But all I could focus on was her. The way she leaned too near when she wanted to make a point, her perfume leaving me dizzy. The way her fingers found my wrist under the table, holding, testing, daring. "Lucas," she murmured during dinner. Her lips close enough that her breath stirred my skin. "People are watching," I swallowed hard. "Then why?" "Because I want them to," she cut in her tone like velvet steel. "But only you will understand what it means." Her thumb traced slow circles on the inside of my wrist. Every nerve in me was screaming. The world beyond that table fading to nothing. If I turned my hand, I could lace my fingers with hers. If I leaned an inch, I could kiss the corner of her mouth. But instead, I sat frozen, trapped in her game, her captive. Across the table, I caught the sharp look of a rival executive, Victor. His jaw clenched as he watched her laugh at something I'd said. The realization hit me like thunder. He saw it too. He suspected the danger only made her bolder. On the dance floor later, she let me spin her once, twice, before leaning in close. Her lips hovered near my ear. Her voice a whisper no one else could hear. "You're trembling," she said. "You're doing this on purpose." I stammered. Her soft laugh sent shivers down my spine. "Of course I am." Her hands slid down my arm, her nails grazing my skin through the thin fabric of my sleeve. For one impossible second, the room vanished. Music, people. Everything dissolved until it was just her and me and the line we weren't supposed to cross. Then applause erupted around us as the music ended. She pulled back, smile flawless, mask perfectly in place. No one saw the storm in her eyes. No one but me. As we left the floor, she leaned one last time, whispering words meant to haunt me forever. "Tonight, you stayed close. Next time, Lucas, I might not let you leave." The city outside her office was drowning in rain. Neon lights blurred against the windows, streaks of blue and red dripping down the glass. It was late, too late, and yet I was still there. Summoned with a single message from her. "Stay!" Eleanor stood by the window, arms crossed, her silhouette outlined by the glow of the skyline. Her heels were off, her hair loose, her dress from the gala exchanged for something simpler, but far more dangerous. A silk blouse and skirt that clung to her like secrets. "You shouldn't be here," she said without turning. Her voice was calm, but the weight of it pressed against me like gravity. I swallowed. "You asked me to stay." She finally looked over her shoulder, her eyes catching mine like lightning. "And you listened?" Silence stretched, filled only by the steady rhythm of rain. Then she moved closer, each step echoing against marble floors until she was just in front of me. I could see droplets of rain clinging to her hair as though the storm outside had followed her in. "This is dangerous," she whispered, her hand lifted, hovering near my face, trembling almost imperceptibly before her fingers brushed my jaw. "If anyone finds out." Her touch burned. My heart hammered, desperate, reckless. "Then let them," I breathed. "I'm not afraid anymore." Her lips parted, and for the first time the mask of the CEO cracked. Vulnerability shimmered in her eyes. Something softer, something human. She leaned closer, so close I could feel the heat of her breath. The air between us electric. My body screamed to close the distance, to finally end the torment of almost. Her forehead rested against mine. The world shrank to that single point of contact. The storm outside nothing compared to the one inside me. "Lucas," she whispered, my name trembling on her lips. "Don't make me want this." "I already do," I answered. Our hands found each other, fingers intertwining, gripping like lifelines. The unspoken words between us hung heavier than the rain, louder than the thunder. She leaned in closer, closer until the space left was a breath, a heartbeat. And then she stopped. Her eyes opened, locking onto mine with fire and fear entwined. She pulled back just enough to speak, her whisper slicing me open. "Don't peek unless you're ready to lose everything." The silence that followed was unbearable. My pulse screamed for a kiss that never came, for a truth denied at the last possible second. And then she let go of my hand, stepping away, her back to me again, as if she hadn't almost surrendered everything. But I knew from the tremor in her voice, from the way her fingers had lingered in mine, from the storm she couldn't hide. This wasn't over. Not tonight, not tomorrow,